Oh, hey, this is Morning with Jody.
6 weeks ago, the House of Commons in Canada passed the Bill of Rights. This was presumably to help to safeguard our rights against an encroaching state and against the encroaching complexities of our society.
I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above, entire and whole and perfect, the service of my love. The love that asks no question,
Continue. Oh, hey, this is Morning with Jody Canuck. It's the first time I'm using this OBS, so bear with me. My setup, I'll continue to improve it to see if people like hearing from me a little more than the videos I create. About how about patriotism, about Canada, our historical videos, and of course political opinions. So bear with me, right? I'll get better, as time goes on, as they say. So yeah, I had started making videos because I kept on seeing things in the world which were bugging me. And one was essentially the agenda essentially to what I would say is to colonize Europe and North America with a different ideology. Now, for me, it has nothing to do with race, because race is not important, particularly with me. Ideology is. Christianity built the West, and the left are getting more and more anti-Christian. It seems like they're trying to put Christianity as an extreme position. So Christians' views on gay marriage, though Christians who still disagree with the concept of legal gay marriage and homosexuality and pretty much other conservative positions that, they just disagree with. It looks like the left wants to say, well, that those are the fringe, and Christians are just uneducated. They're uneducated. They are they're not progressive, and we need to continue to be progressive. That's our goal. One, what bugs me is who gave these elites, the right to decide, well, now we're gonna change society in a certain way. We're going to erase certain societal norms, and for those people who want, all conservatives, those people who want to conserve certain things, well, if you want to conserve, certain societal norms, the idea that there's, the teaching of biology that there's two sexes, that we have different, women and men have different bone densities, but different muscle mass. The left are taking, if you disagree with, there are now 78 genders. When did this happen? Who decided? Right, who decided that now that we finally did some good things with women's rights, and good, it was about time. There must be another, they have to, the SJ, and I'm referring to the SJWs, I suppose. They were the radicals, I believe. I think that's how they came about. They were the radicals of the whole feminist movement in the third wave feminism. And once they achieved a certain amount of rights for women, they were like, well, we need to find some form of oppression to blame. Marxist theory. What I'm referring to is Marxist theory. Oppress an oppressor, and there's only society is only based on power, and so there's the rulers, and then there's the not. So I really think that that's how this whole thing started, and they saw Christianity in the way, because Christianity is about conserving conserving certain moral values, and they started taking certain moral teachings out of schools. That was how it first started, and the churches really didn't fight back. Didn't say, well, that might not be a good idea. No, let's be honest, they capitulated every single time and not all atheists are like this, but I think the ones, these SJW radicals who ended up becoming university teachers and had these chip on their shoulders against religion, but not just religion, Christianity. And I'm sorry to say, sorry folks, Christianity is the bedrock of Western civilization. Without Christianity, we would not have common law. In the British Commonwealth, we would not have common law. We would not have the Magna Carta. The idea of private. Come on. The Americans would not have the Constitution. So the entire idea. Similar. And I'm referring to. These are antagonistic atheists, where it's not just, well, live and let live. Fine if you want to believe in, Jesus Christ. That's fine. And I am a Christian, but in that in that idea, well, and I know some. They're the nicest people you can meet. But it's the radical SJWs who want to change society into this Marxist, communistic centralization stuff happen to be the radical atheists. They're not having children, and these are the same people who are for 40-week abortions. So they want to, and that's now the mainstream. I know people who are pro-choice that they had some, there should be limitations. Now in 2019, the progressive stance on pro-choice is no. If you're not for 40 weeks abortion, if you're not for you're with the crazy pro-lifers. And that's how they've just, it's interesting, it's very interesting that, I've said this before in the past, that society is run by these agenda-driven people who are antagonistic of certain, and yet this is what really gets on my. I don't know. It's befuddling to me, where these same antagonistic atheists, SJWs, the opposite, mind you, of Stefan Molyneux, the best philosopher there is in the world right now. Sorry, that's my opinion. But I'm talking about the opposite. Atheist, where there is, they do not recognize, they do not accept that Christianity had benefits, in Western civilization. They say they still think without religion we'd all be better off. We tried that in the Soviet Union. Stalin killed Christians. He took down one of the most, there's pictures of it, one of the most beautiful cathedrals there were in Russia because it was in his way. Like, it was disrupting his view. I forget the name of it, which is unfortunate, but it's beautiful. A beautiful cathedral. So Christians were persecuted in this, it's communism. It's a statist, it's a religion, folks. It's a statist religion. The state is the highest form. You know, it's, and so there are antagonistic atheists, the opposite of philosophers like of Stefan Molyneux, and that just no. They're pretty much for the similar things as what's happening in New York State, in the 6 states that want to have, you know, infanticide. I saw Alex Jones go ape shit, and listen, like him or hate him, I really care more about what people say, not how they say it. And he had, I think he was right to, you know, to lose it, because for years, you know, he's, you know, in his own way, and you know, for views, he's gotten successful because of his demeanor, because of his style. Hey, that's beautiful. That's a capitalist. That used to be, we used to say, hey, he's an entrepreneur. Hey, you know. But he was full in his rights to going, oh my God, you know, they're pushing to killing babies, you know, exploding. And it's, they used to call that, you know, you're just, you know, no, that's not true, you know, no, it's a conspiracy, and that's what I think made him blow up. Because I think they're trying, the progressives are walking back, no, we don't want infanticide, we just want 40-week abortion. Which is so, it's murder. So I know pro-choicers who believe in limitations, who are saying that very thing, it's murder. You know, so what's happening right now with, you know, AOC, in the, you know, in the States, the progressives in the States, they're pushing, I'm just seeing there's a transition of pro-choicers to the middle, because the extremists on the left are becoming mainstream, and they're pushing out these people who said, well, we need some limitations. You know, they still believe in pro-choice, but they now have more information. I think that's what it is. They have more information than they did before. I think they were told, let's not even consider the pro-life's position, because just the idea, their idea is an affront to the woman's right, so let's not even hear what they have to say. It's radical, going back to Christianity, it's radical Christianity's blocking progressive, you know, and again, it's kind of interesting that these people who are for the 40-week abortion, well, they don't have children, they don't believe in God, they don't. The majority of them are antagonistic atheists, not just atheists. They're antagonistic atheists. You know, they're definitely not live and let live, that's for sure. And then what boggles my mind is the whole misandry on the left. They want to bash all men as the worst thing. Men have this. They're the reasons why. The whole mark goes into the Marxist theory. We're all. There's oppressed and oppressors, and all men are oppressors. And so once they gain, now it's transgender rights, once they have the rights that they want, there's going to be another, there has to be another oppressed person, another oppressed group. Who knows? Maybe they'll go after, the cripples. Oh, they need, they're oppressed. So we must, champion that. There's always going to be something with them. They cannot just to justify, I guess, their ideology, their religion, and that's hilarious. Their religion is progressivism, or as Dave Rubin calls, and not just Dave Rubin, but regressivism. And that's my opinion on the matter. But the paradox is that these SJWs, these antagonistic atheists that don't have children, that are pushing for the 40-week abortion and all that, are aligning themselves with Islam. And that boggles my mind, because these progressives hate, toxic masculinity, which I believe is a farce, because it was masculinity which beat Hitler. It was masculinity that has protected our countries from dangers, and what they want to push now is that, and in my opinion, it really is. It's man-hating. It's so, in my opinion, it's the irrational hatred of men, and it's all Western civilization. We must get rid of masculinity. We must feminize men, and that will solve everything. While they are repeating the whole Roman Empire collapse because of this ideology that we must feminize, because they've aligned themselves with Islam, which, it's hyper masculine. Women don't have rights. Unlike Western civilization, where Christians progress to a certain degree. Hey, you know what? Women need rights. Yeah, we were wrong. Slavery. Yeah, that was a wrong. We should, as European civilization, which was a certain complexion. I know, and a lot of people, they don't like whites, because I don't know, I don't get it. We ended slavery. We learned our lessons. We learned from our mistakes. And no, it's like, nope, not good enough. Nope. It's nuts. They want to align themselves with Islam, that, hey, they had slavery. I think they kind of still do in certain countries, right now in Libya, Mauritania. They're not very they don't have this self-reflection. Slavery was wrong. You know what? We should give rights to women. So it's a paradox. And then they're hyper. They've stoned women. They get raped. It's the woman's fault. They get stoned. They get, it's like, why is antagonistic social justice warriors who want to feminize men, who want to push transgenderism to 4-year-olds, and sorry, I believe, I'm a, do what you do, but wait till the person is of legal age. You have to be 18 or 21 to buy alcohol. You need to be 18 to join the military. You need to, but no, you have a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old who thinks he's a helicopter or a flower or a girl, and well, okay, let's not even, so that's, and of course there's certain cases, but my point is that they've aligned themselves with a ideology. I'm not talking about color. There are white, there are Asian, there are a lot of colors that are in Islam. It's not an Arab thing. For me, it's ideas. And the idea of Sharia law, political Sharia law, is kind of the opposite of this whole progressivism. That no, let's pretty much go over to the extremes. With everyone needs equal rights. Let's get rid of meritocracy. That whole thing. They want to align themselves with this hyper-masculine who don't just, not agree with the whole gay agenda. You know what I mean? The gay rights, transgender rights, etc. They want to kill. They don't really, zero tolerance with progressive ideals. And this is where progressives have aligned themselves with, where if you criticize, then you must be an Islamophobe. Whatever that means. What's an they are Christianophobes. And people laugh about, oh, come on. Yeah. No, there's a hatred for Christianity in these SJWs because they're the ones who are against the whole 40 weeks, mainly. But Christians are live and let live, and they're peaceful. It's like, well, okay, you leave those who leave the church. We'll pray for you. Oh, the horror. Thank you. You're going to pray for me? Great. Now, and I think that's a nice, peaceful, and that's what Christianity was, and I'm I'm not talking about the Old Testament. I'm talking about the New Testament, so Jesus Christ, we're peaceful, right? So, we hope you come back, right? We'll pray. We disagree with your lifestyle, but, we're all God's children. That's, in Islam, come on, right? They're not the most self-reflective ideology. Political Sharia law. That's the thing. So there's that, and they want to. And that's where it goes into overboard with the whole multiculturalism thing. It goes into Europe must be multicultural. The ex-president of France, Sarkozy, said we must merge with, the ideology. And think about it. If that happens, all the progressive developments that the left have done go out the window. So that's what makes, it makes me thinking, going, isn't that counterproductive for them? Isn't that okay, they get transgender rights, they get gay rights, and now let's bring in a ideology that aren't going to tolerate that to the point that they will, they're not going to put up with it. They're not going to say live and let live when they want political Sharia law to be the law of the land in Western countries. So that's my opinion. That it's like, isn't that counterproductive? With the whole, don't criticize Islam. They're just, cultural relativity. No cultures are different. Come on, it's bullshit. Pardon my language, but it's nonsense, right? It's and again, like I say, Christianity is the bedrock of Western civilization. Without Christianity, we would not have the rights. We wouldn't have. It's. I kind of believe in the butterfly effect, where butterfly effect. Yeah. Where one thing, because of one thing, it led to another good thing, another, the run, and then another good thing, and another good thing. So without that first, impetus, that first domino, that first, history would not have played out the way it had. That's why, without Christianity, or Judeo, I want to put it that way, because the Judeo-Christianity, it would not, I would think women would not have the rights they have now. Again, in the Middle East, women still are looked down upon, and if you imagine a world without Christianity that learned, this, and we should do, we should improve this, we should improve that, we should be more tolerant, we should, but still wanting to conserve morale, being pro-life and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. It's a paradox that they want to get rid of Christianity as a whole, but it is interesting. It is how things are playing out. So this is my prediction with the whole multiculturalism. And this is a left creation. Justin Trudeau's dad. Come on, Canada. You can trace back all the Marxists, all the socialism in Canada to two events: the CCF, and they were a whole bunch of American farmers in the Depression, in the Great Depression, who were, not liking what was going on in Washington D.C. and they were getting a little. They wanted to unionize They wanted to get a bit socialist, and it wasn't working out for them in, it's like the South, it was, South Dakota is the North, that area, the Midwest. And instead of staying where they were, what they did was they moved to the Canadian prairies. Eventually they grouped up once, after a while that they've been in Canada. They formed a political party called the CCF, which stood for, I may butcher this, but the cooperative, the cooperative Canadian Federation, something like that. They eventually changed. They were all for diversity. They were all for this is where the roots of the whole diversity thing. Diversity, justice, capitalism has done us wrong. We must get rid of it. That type of thing. And they rebranded themselves in the 60s to the New Democratic Party. We still have them. They still have those. They still have the same ideals. There are far leftists in Canada, but now, to be honest with you, the Liberals. I don't see any difference really between the Liberals and the New Democratic Party at all. The Liberals have gone just as extreme, in my opinion. And so I'm wondering if they're ever going to merge. It's a power thing with them. And that's what I think why they haven't merged. So that's our far leftist, the New Democratic Party, but now, Liberals. The other contribution, to Canada's socialism and Marxism in Canada is Pierre Trudeau. Good old Justin's dad. Good old, when you can go back to the New Democratic Party, the CCF, and Pierre Trudeau, when Canada started to get more socialized, more ending patriotism, looking down, that's an American thing, right? And that's bad. Let's not be like the Americans. And this was the progressive, or at least the beginnings of it anyway, the beginnings of the progressive ideas that, we're these, we're higher, we're kind of, let's not do that. Prior to all of this, prior to Pierre Trudeau, Canada was extremely patriotic. We were very proud that we were part of the British Commonwealth. We were very proud, we were very proud of the rights we had. We were very proud of our heritage. From Jacques Cartier, Samuel Champlain, those who discovered, Quebec, and those who had John A. Macdonald, George Brown. We were proud of our founders. Now, in these progressive areas, which, by the way, are becoming less and less. There's a conservative trend. I recommend these YouTubers, 100%. Amazing Polly, Derek Rance, Joe Hayes, Frank Vaughan, Stephen Molyneux, and Dr. Steve Turley. If you want to know how many conservative trends there are, amazing. He will brighten your day. That's all I'm saying. You know? So there are conservative trends, but what's happening in Canada in the liberal areas is they're taking down statues of our founding fathers. Imagine that. Imagine if they took down George Washington. For the reason, well, he, something, something negative. Just so, because our leaders were not these perfect people, and in the society worldwide was under a system which no longer exists, we must erase. Well, they're not worthy enough to remember. Let's revise history. And in Ontario, we elected a conservative populist, and when he heard about they were taking down a statue in British Columbia on the left coast, very, very liberal in British Columbia, he said, "We'll take it. I mean, it's our first pride. It's our founding father. He was part of, he did a couple negative things, but not to the degree where we should erase him. Because George, he owned a slave. I think, it was, and so all history is not, roses and rainbows, So that's all I'm saying. It's, we should not revise history, but this goes back to this whole progressive, we must, all Western civilization is bad, all our founding fathers, they were oppressors, what they did, the discoverers, of Canada, the discoverers of America, their intentions from the get-go were genocide, when it's not true. They were looking for routes to China. They found North America. And then they made peaceful treaties with Native Americans, Native Canadians, and there were friendships that lasted long. And then there were tribes which, just like the people in Europe, were warlike. We're human beings. We have a lot of cultures have a whole bunch of things in common. And one is, war. And the Native Americans, they fought. They were peaceful tribes. They were warlike tribes. And the Iroquois had some beef with the Hurons. So when the Europeans came over, they did not come over with intent. Let's kill them all. That's historically inaccurate, and it's divisive. It doesn't bring. Sorry, my arm is. It doesn't bring people together. All whites are. The reason they're all bad. So we must erase all the history. Because whatever, So I'm just saying that's not the right way. That's not a unifying thing. But coming back to whole, bringing it home to the whole SJW aligning themselves with the ideology of political Sharia law, this is with multiculturalism, this is my prediction. Because the SJW colonized, the idea of colonialism was awful, imperialism was awful, it was wrong, it's bad. What they're doing with multiculturalism, it's turning into colonialism. It's turning into colonization. And don't say anything bad against it, because then you must be a bad person. That's what I did. You must be immoral if you disagree with the progressive ideology. And that's the weird, the progressive ideologies, the progressive religion of, wanting to centralize, wanting to make things, the European Union is so similar to the Soviet Union, and yet they want to pretend it's not. Let's continue, let's make things bigger, right? Let's continue, let's keep doing, this time it'll work. No lessons learned in Napoleon, no lessons learned with the Roman Empire, no lessons learned with every communist country. Let's do it again. It's the whole stupid socialism thing. This time it'll work. Or that wasn't real socialism, right? So they're saying, imperialism is wrong, colonialism is wrong, but don't criticize political Sharia law. Let's bring them all into Europe, and let's bring them all into North America. And this is where multiculturalism is morphing into colonialism itself. So there's a little irony in there, and so what's happening is ghettoization, and the ghettoization is pushing, helping. There is self-segregation going on in these communities, where now there's these little little name of the country, name the where they don't speak English, they don't want to speak the host language. They're not encouraged to, adopt to the host country's values, and the people like Justin Trudeau who say, well, because we don't have core identity or core, we're a post national. It's all bollocks. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. We have our history, the Quebec. Come on. That's insulting to the Quebecois. That's insulting to the Métis. That's insulting to the English Canadians who have the identity with the British Empire that brought us common law and all the things that we enjoy today. So the idea that Trudeau said, we don't have a core. So those who come here, don't, you don't have to adopt, just, do your own thing. Well, any idea that you should adapt, that you should learn our language, that you should assimilate, which is now like a Nazi word in the West. That's a negative. And so, anyway, so I think this whole multiculturalism thing is backfiring, and it's helping the pendulum swing to the, you know what I mean, in my right arm. it's helping the pendulum swing to the right. And the more people like Justin Trudeau, let's say Justin Trudeau doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't resign because of the whole scandals that he's in. He doesn't resign. He stays in power. He continues this agenda of taking sovereignty away from the nation state and giving it to an unelected body that will tell us how things are going to be, because we're never being given a choice, ever. Ever. We're not given a choice. We're being told how society will be now, usually thanks to people like Justin Trudeau and his father and these, those who believe the capitalist system is evil and we must do away with it. I mean, I believe the UN came out and they said something similar. We must get rid of capitalism. Replace it with what? You know? An ideology which killed 60 million people? That was the Soviet Union, by the way, not Hitler. That was not Nazism. You know? I mean, every totalitarian ideology has killed millions of people. Capitalism has made people come out of poverty more than any other ideology. Now, I am not saying it's perfect. There are no perfect ideologies. Sorry, there are no perfect ideologies. But people on the left believe, this whole, reaching this utopian ideal, and now they want to say capitalism is, we must do away with it? Replace it with what? Let's repeat again. Let's repeat the same mistakes, and now aligning with themselves after getting all these, new human rights, and more rights, and more oppressed people. We must get their rights and more rights. So there's always going to be something, and it's going to make it. I just see it happening. I see it happening in real time. How society is going down the same route as the Roman Empire. This era, the era of decadence, where they didn't care about the borders of their empire. They were affluent. They were enjoying, and they've reached the limits of where they were able to expand. And in came the Visigoths, who were more, there were more people. They were more, they became more, they were more at that point of the Roman Empire, they became very, what would be the word? Sexually free? I don't know. In any case, they let their guards down, and because the decadence this decadence period, and the Visigoths and the Huns came through, and who were the opposite of that. They were these, and the Roman Empire fell. I am seeing this trend. The same thing, we're in this, affluent, we're more decadent now, where we're doing all these super progressive things, and any resistance to it, you're a bad person. Forget, you're a bad person. Not agreeing with 40-week abortion. You're bad. You hate women, not agreeing that diversity is our strength. You're a bad person. You're immoral. I think that's a wrong. I think that's a wrong position to take. No, I think people have the right to disagree. Now, not so, and this is why the pendulum has swung to the right everywhere, because people are sick of this nonsense. So you have Europe that's going right. You have Canada, which is going right. We have another election coming up in Alberta, and it elected a NDP far leftist. And Alberta was supposed to be this Canada's Texas, and so they did it they voted for that person, that NDP far leftist in protest for some reason, and now they're regretting it. But this next election, which is, this month? I think it's in May. It's going full-on conservative, populist. Ontario last year in June, we voted for, who they called the Canadian Donald Trump. Every province seems to be going conservative. And that trend is going to continue the more the left attack societal norms and try to depict what was considered societal norms as an extreme position, and should not be tolerated. So I think that's all I wanted to say. That the dangers of the left and the intolerance to those on the right, and that the paradox that they're having while they're pushing these uber causes with hyper-masculine ideology, while saying all male are toxic. Masculinity is a disease that we must teach out of boys. And I think that's I think that's a wrong. I don't think that's right. And I think that it's only going to lead to conflict, particularly when it comes to the two ideologies that built what we have today with common law and the United States Constitution and the Magna Carta, and the other ideology which doesn't want to accept those principles and wants to stay with this ideology that still look down upon, that haven't gotten to the point that we have gotten when it comes to rights and freedoms. And it's a paradox to me. And that's only going to lead to conflict. And it seems that they don't want to even hear that. They have this cognitive that they don't want to hear any opposite opinion, because it breaks down their worldview, I suppose. And it means that, well, they were either duped or they were wrong, and they don't want to. No one wants to accept that they were duped, is what I would think, because this is only leading to, a culture clash. So there you go. This is my first little OBS recording. So these are the topics that I cover on, my YouTube channel, which is J Canuck. You can find me on Twitter at Canuck_J, Canuck with a K. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at J Canuck. So, you all have a good one. It's interesting times. The trends are going our way. So, there's silver linings everywhere. But that's why I think the left are doubling down, tripling down, because they know they have a shorter period of time to get what they want done. And so I think that's why I wanted to start this little web thing. Anyway, so y'all have a good one. Have a good day. And see you next time. Bye-bye.